Ladies and gentlemen, and good morning if you are outside of this time zone. So depending on what part of the world you are joining us from, we're excited to welcome you. Welcome to IAA Nigeria iPitch webinar forum. My name is Femi Adelusi. I'm the Vice President for IAA Nigeria, and I'm standing in for the President, Dr. Tunji Olugbodi, who is currently in transit and should join us at some point in the course of this webinar. So I'll be your host for this webinar, and thank you for having me. For those of us or people who might be joining or interacting with the IA for the very first time, please permit me to just say a few things about the IA. IA simply means International Advertising Association. IA was established as far back as 1938 in New York City. And so it's a long time, there's a lot of legacy over the years. So IA is the only global association that represents the interest of all sectors of the marketing communications industry. And our membership is drawn from the tech platforms, from media agencies, from advertising agencies, from experiential agencies, out-of-home agencies in Nigeria, and media houses, and of course, the advertisers and marketers themselves. And we also have a thriving followership of student members and young professionals. Those are young people who just left university or tertiary institution and just starting their professional careers. And so we're very unique from that perspective and different from many other sectorial bodies across many markets. We've got a very interesting topic today. And from the feedback, I think it's safe to say that we couldn't have come up with a more appropriate topic at this time. We'll be talking about creativity in crisis, just thinking about innovation in these very challenging times. And we've got about 1.5 hours to talk about this. And just before we go right into it, just a few housekeeping rules. Number one is please do mute your mics. We allow the guest speaker to go through the presentation, and then please share or put on your questions in the Q&A using the Q&A button. And you could also share comments in the chat box with the panelists or the moderators, okay? And so we'll come back to your questions or comments after the presentation by our keynote speaker today. And so I have the pleasure and the singular honor of welcoming our keynote speaker for today, Dagmara Zos. She is the managing director for IA Global, and she sits in New York City. Before I leave the floor to her, or the mic to her, let me just say a few things about our guest speaker today. Dagmara, as she's fondly called, is a highly skilled strategist and innovative marketer with a track record of experience that spans over the last 20 years. And experience is predominantly in building and transforming brands for both on the client side and on the agency side as well. And she's worked and put these skills to use across many markets. She's a critical thinker who delivers excellence in brand strategies. She's noted for brand strength, for her strength in helping startup operations and also in developing new businesses with great potentials. She's also quite renowned for the creation and launching of innovative brand campaigns and communication strategies that have provoked remarkable sales results across many markets in the United States, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and Europe as well. Since our appointment as the managing director for IA Global, Dagmara has been phenomenal in moving the association forward, having championed many laudable initiatives for the association and transforming the association significantly over the past 2 years. Dagmara joins us from New York City, like I said, and so I have the pleasure of welcoming you, Dagmara. And so I extend to you a very warm, I know you said that it's very warm in New York at this time as well, but nothing like the African warmth and hospitality. So welcome, Dagmara.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Femi.
Thank you, you're welcome. So over the next 30 minutes or thereabouts, we look forward to listening to you on this topic. So thank you, you've got the floor right now.
Thank you so much. So let me just share the screen and I'm going to, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Wonderful. So let me start. Thank you so much. So thank you, Femi and Tunji, for inviting me today to share my thoughts on how to use creativity to turn this crisis into an opportunity. I was actually in Lagos 2 years ago to participate in opening of our IAA Nigeria chapter. I was so impressed by the people I met during the event. I was hoping to be back in Africa this October for the IAA's 4th Africa Rising conference, but unfortunately, this pandemic has changed my plans. Due to the pandemic, we actually at IAA are focusing on innovating our own business model, moving away from physical events to virtual, learning how new technologies can make our events more engaging, allowing for proper networking, for practical hands-on experience. We are getting feedback from our members from around the world how to innovate and what they are needing right now in the time of the pandemic. We actually just launched our first global virtual event to announce the first ever global privacy laws handbook to serve as a useful resource for the industry, especially in markets where consumers' privacy is not being regulated yet. And the event was a huge success. It was the first time ever we organized a virtual event, but it worked and it worked very well. And we are planning another global virtual event this October to focus on providing resources for small and medium businesses, because as we all know, small and medium businesses are really the beating heart of every economy. So we felt it was really critical to provide those businesses with practical tools and help them work together with us and governments to restart the economy. So today, I'm going to just very quickly tell you a bit more about IAA, and I'm going to dive into how to learn from the most viable, the most progressive brands, how to use this crisis into an opportunity. And then I'm going to talk about this new phenomenon, a new concept in marketing called living brand ecosystems, and how the most valuable brands around the world are using this new model to build long-term value. And finally, I'm going to share with you some of the resources that we have at IAA to really kind of help rethink how to turn crisis into the opportunity. So as Femi mentioned at the very beginning, our mission, our IAA mission, is to serve as the global compass of the marketing communication industry. What does it mean really? As you know, a compass has two ingredients. First of all, there is the North Star that points you to the future, that points you to the timeless principles of building brands. So IAA is constantly very close to all the emerging trends. And currently what we are talking about is how to build brands in the era of consumer empowerment, because as we all know, technology has changed consumers' behaviors like never before. So understanding how to build brands in this new era of consumer empowerment is going to be key for brands to really grow and sustain their growth. On the other hand, each compass has the two arrows that help you navigate the current challenges happening in the marketplace. So very often, we talk about, obviously, we guide the industry, what's coming next in technology, in changing consumer behavior. But in this case, obviously, we are navigating, we're helping to navigate the industry given what's happening with COVID-19 and how this is impacting our industry. So this is just to show you our global footprint. We are present in 56 countries, and we have 34 operating chapters and 44 accredited institutes. So this kind of global footprint gives IAA a very unique opportunity to tap into all the sectors of the industry where we operate. So we can leverage both academia and the practitioners to harvest all the knowledge and provide for the leadership to the industry. And currently, as we know, the COVID-19 is causing an unprecedented global economic shutdown around the world, including the US. However, we are learning, and you're probably experiencing this as well in Nigeria, some companies are actually taking advantage of this crisis to really experience a new heights of growth. And in fact, some companies are being born in times of crisis. So our IAA ambition is to really understand what does it take to turn this crisis and any crisis and turn it into an opportunity for you. And we hope that IAA will become the premier source, global source for this critical knowledge for our IAA members. So what are the leading brands doing currently in this economic crisis? Leading brands right now have been really showing what we are experiencing in the US and around the world. They've been showing the human part more than ever, thinking with their heart, much more so than with their head. There has been a lot of focus on people and their needs. These brands are playing the long-term game. They are helping the governments to focus on people, on saving lives and stabilizing the pandemic. Because before we start restarting the economy, we need to save as many lives as possible. Without people, we cannot succeed in restarting the economy. So these are just some of the examples. Brands have very quickly really started focusing their resources, moving marketing dollars on really helping people and saving as many lives as possible. So, you know, obviously the technology companies have been probably the most resilient to the crisis, helping with a lot of creating a lot of funds, giving discounts to their products, offering their products for free. We've seen alcohol companies turning their manufacturing to produce sanitizers. We've seen fashion companies turning again their manufacturing skills to producing masks and protective wear to protect people from the pandemic. So leading brands have been really leading with providing support for the people. And I cannot stress enough, I mean, one of the reasons I joined IAA is because I really believe in the strategic role of the Marcom industry. This time more than ever, we have an opportunity, I think, as the industry to elevate the strategic importance of the Marcom industry, because brands play and can play a really critical role in building economies. On the right-hand side, you can see here how brands have contributed to different economies. In the US, brands have contributed 3.2 trillion in value. China, Japan, Germany, you can see a lot of countries around the world are benefiting from brands. And I think, I really believe that the world will be a better place if we had more economies benefiting from brands. This is why I think brand building is so critical and so important. And this time more than ever, we have an opportunity as an industry to really elevate the strategic role of the industry. And so just so you are aware, these are the 10 most viable brands in the world. And 6 out of the 10 brands come from the US, and 3 of them come from China, and 1 from them is Korea. So it just shows you how powerful brands can be in contributing to the economies. And here is an example of brands that have done extremely well during the pandemic. So with obviously pandemic creating a huge havoc in the economy, economies around the world, there are some brands that are really winning and benefiting from this pandemic. And brands that have really proven they value to people and value in playing roles in people's lives. So obviously brands like Clorox, Netflix, I mean, some of these brands I'm sure, most of you are very familiar with, but very quickly consumers have changed their behaviors, had to change their behaviors, and some brands have experienced tremendous growth. And there are also some unexpected players, like there is this brand in the US called Beyond Meat, where people on a sudden have been switching to much healthier options. You have a brand like Lululemon, which is an activewear. In the US, activewear has experienced tremendous growth because women and people are not buying fashion and luxury product as much as they used to. So activewear is emerging as a huge category, new sector of the fashion category, growing tremendously. Amazon, as you know, unfortunately, has been killing the brick and mortar retail, and Amazon and Walmart have been really the key players in the retail space. So as you can see, some brands, some industry can thrive, and definitely creative technology has played a big part in this kind of in the growth, and gaming has experienced tremendous growth. You know, we have country like I'm from Poland, and Poland, for example, has a lot of game developers, and the gaming industry has experienced big growth in during the pandemic. So so what does it take to really build a high value brand in the era of consumer empowerment? So there is this new concept, and I'll be happy to have a different webinars and dive into more details, but we used to talk about brand idea, then we talk about brand experiences, and there is this new marketing concept called living brand ecosystems. And as we all know, technology today, technology revolution is creating technology that's much more intelligent, much more powerful, much more connected than ever. And as the result of this, we have seen consumer empowerment like never before. Consumers are always on, they're always connected, and they really, as the result of them, they expect brands to adopt to them on their own terms. No longer brands can tell them what to do and broadcast to them. Brands are really expected to adopt to the changing consumer behaviors. So as David Roth, the chairman of Brand Z, said, we are seeing a move from individual product and service brands to an era of highly disruptive ecosystems. And in order to succeed long term, brands need to understand this type of model and what this can create. And they should embrace this approach to become successful in the future. So what do those high value brands, the 10 brands that I show you, the 10 most valuable brands in the world, what do they have in common? Number one, they're all purpose-driven systems. They start with a purpose. They all play a very clear role in consumers' life. You know, as we all know, Coke is not in the refreshment business. Coke is in the happiness business. Apple is not in the computer business. They're in the business of creativity. All of those high value brands, they start with a purpose. If you don't have a purpose, I really think that this is the first strategic building block. You don't stand a chance to win in your category. So what do? They deliver hyper personalized experiences. So no longer, brands can just have one product that can offer everything to everybody. The most valuable brands, the highest value brands, offer hyper personalized experiences. And how do they work? By leveraging human empathy and tech-enabled intelligence. So these brands own consumer data and are able to analyze those consumers' data to develop highly sophisticated consumer segments and tap and create personalized experience around those segments. So really having the technology know-how today is critical for any brand to succeed. And finally, how are they different? So they replace consistency with flexible strategies, and they continuously test and optimize to constantly create those living brand ecosystem systems and constantly be with you all the time. One thing that all of those high value brands have in common, they are relentlessly relevant. They're constantly with us. They inspire us, they move us to action, they make us smarter, they inspire to make bold moves, they enable the humans to be at our best. And they push competitors out of considerations. I mean, these brands are really brave enough to shatter kind of the old category rules, and they disrupt and define new categories. So these are some of the, and again, examples of some of those highest value brands that have redefined categories. And I'm sure you're familiar with all of them. You know, Starbucks in the US literally introduced the idea of gourmet coffee. It was inspired by Italian coffee culture, and Starbucks came and created a new culture. They were not in the coffee business anymore. They created a third destination in the US where people would come at between work and home to get the customized latte, frappuccino, they custom coffee. They created an experience. They created completely new vocabulary around coffee. Baristas. They replaced salespeople with baristas. They created coffee names that had never been seen before. By creating this new vocabulary, they created almost like a new religion, a new destination. And this is what set them apart from any other coffee brands like Nestle or Jacob Suchard. Uber, of course, as you know, has revolutionized the taxi business around the world. Amazon has revolutionized retail. So those brands, those highest value brands in the world, they have the power and the bravery to change categories and create their own religions. They elevate themselves above a category and create their own vocabulary. And again, I'll be happy to come back to you guys with specific case studies for all of those brands. One great example is Tesla, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with Tesla. Elon Musk created this brand to really disrupt the entire car industry. And not only the model, the concept of the electric car was revolutionary, but also the experience. As you know, and I'm sure still, you know, this is the case in parts of Africa, it was the case in Central Europe, the car dealers were seen like the worst enemy for consumers. You know, they were seen like vultures. Going to shop for a car was the most dreaded experience for anybody. However, Tesla has completely revolutionized that experience. When you walk into a Tesla car dealership, you feel like you're entering almost a gallery. And your experience starts with a customer choosing the color of the car, the accessories, the model of the car. You walk around the store like you are walking around an art gallery to choose and create your custom piece of art. The experience feel like curating your own basically art experience. This is how visionary high value brands think. They put customer at the epicenter of that experience. Nike obviously is a brilliant example that everybody is familiar with. Nike has obviously done not in the, just like Coke, just like Apple, they're not in the sneaker or apparel business, they're in the self-performance business. So if you think like this, you don't think about just improving the shoe and designing the athletic gear, but they are thinking about how can I partner with other technology partners to really help consumers improve their self-performance. So as the result of this thinking, Nike has created the whole ecosystem of products and services to really add value to consumers and to help them improve their self-performance. So what does it mean to the discipline of brand building? The brand building paradigm has changed tremendously, requiring brands to shift from left to right over time. We used to use something in all days between 1995 and 2005 called prescribed marketing, tell and sell. Then we moved to responsive marketing, and now we are really dealing with the era of living marketing, the always on analytics, constantly bringing the data to the marketing teams to come up with new strategies, new ways to engage with consumers, not just with communication, but with product and services, creating ecosystem to allow brands to really be relentlessly relevant with consumers. This is what those top highest value brands do. So one example of an evolution of a brand is an IBM. They used to be in this prescribed model, and then with the introduction of Watson, where Watson is analyzing using artificial intelligence to analyze all the data to really be very responsive, and as the result of this, IBM is able to deliver customized, personalized experiences to consumers, because now they're using AI to process the data and deliver customer solutions. So this is just one example of a brand that has evolved from this prescribed model to a living marketing model. So in summary, and again, I could probably spend many more hours sharing with you some of the examples, but really, in order to stay relevant in this consumer empowerment era, please find better ways to grow by driving relentless relevance through living brand ecosystems. We at IAA are here to help and guide you with more case studies in any specific category you wish. We'll be happy to provide expertise and experts and bring them to Nigeria from all over the world. I think now technology has enabled this, so this is actually easier than ever. Please, if you are interested, come and join us, come join the movement and become, these are some of the benefits of becoming IAA member, become part of the influential global force. A lot of our members come from small and medium companies, and they are growing. So IAA is a great network for those companies to be part of the team, to really learn from others how to grow, how to use the latest technologies to optimize their marketing strategies. We provide unmatched global networking opportunities. The membership provides really opportunity to collaborate on global initiatives with us in the space of brand building, privacy, brand safety, research, a lot of initiatives leading to really pointing the industry to the next frontier of building high value brands. We always cultivate culture for innovation, collaboration, creativity. We put a lot of emphasis on continuous education. So we have an access to our Global Compass members like Facebook, Google, TikTok, all the progressive global companies, to share global knowledge with our local members around the world. And we are always dedicated, obviously, to freedom of commercial speech. And because we are sector neutral, it gives IAA an opportunity to really advocate for consumers and advocate for the industry, not for a specific sector. And these are just some of our Global Compass platforms that we own. Our World Congress is really our most iconic event that typically happens in person. Next year, we still hope will happen in person. The theme of our World Congress last year was Brand Dharma. That's all about brand purpose. And the next year World Congress, which will take place in St. Petersburg, the theme is Power to People, to talk about how to build brands in the era of consumer empowerment. And we have our iconic event in Africa called Africa Rising. For some of you who have not participated, that focuses mostly on how to build brands through mobile, because Africa obviously is such a powerful market when it comes to mobile, and is also the youngest continent. So we have the right experts talking about how to really use creative technology to build brands. And we have also a conference in Europe called Creativity for Better. And we will launch this conference for the first time as a virtual event this October. We also have some leading global experts that talk about specific topics. And we partner with Gabor George Bird, who is the co-founder of Slingshot and one of the early stakeholders in the Blue Ocean strategy, to talk specifically about how to turn crisis into opportunity. So Gabor will be very happy to come and speak to our members in Nigeria and any other markets in Africa, to really give them a hands-on workshop how to turn crisis into an opportunity. Gabor has consulted with top CEOs around the world, working with them on specific challenges different sectors of our industries face, and helping them figure out how to use creativity to change business models. And by the way, based on our latest survey from Nielsen, we are learning that moving forward, actually 50% of CMOs are trying to move their marketing dollars from just advertising to really creative technology, and figuring out how to optimize and how to innovate their business models to be kind of ready for the new normal. We are partnering with Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, CNN, and TikTok to launch IAA Academy that will target small and medium businesses and will teach them how to build brands direct to consumers. Our conference, Creative for Better, this October will focus solely on this. So I will encourage you to join us for this conference as well. So Tunji has all of the information about our membership, but I just wanted to share with you, we have different levels of membership. Global Compass membership, that's all about really working with us, having a seat on the global board, setting the global agenda for the leadership agenda for the industry. We have global corporate membership, regional corporate membership, but also national corporate membership. So we have memberships for different really organization of different sizes with different ambitions. I'll be happy to be contacted and answer more questions, but this is just to give you a taste of who are the IAA Global members and what kind of companies we have. So we have members from clients like P&G, Xerox, but also the technology companies, obviously like Google, Facebook, TikTok, BBC, Nielsen, Gala, which is the Global Advertising Lawyers Alliance. We have regional members as well as global members. So I hope I have covered kind of the high level summary of today's topic. If you have any other questions, please feel free to contact me directly or through Tunji, our chapter in Nigeria, through Femi. I'm here together with our team in Nigeria to really help answer any questions and help guide you all through all those very challenging times. But I do believe, creativity is the best natural resource that we have as the industry, and we should tap into this to help innovate and to turn this crisis into an opportunity for all of you. So I think with this, thank you so much. Over to you, Femi.
Wow. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you again, Dagmara. That was like a sprint, but I mean, but every step of that was very, very powerful. Thanks for that very illuminating presentation. A lot of it is inspiring, insightful. And believe me, it's coming at a very, very critical time for our industry. And I think most of the cases that you spoke about are very spot on in terms of opportunities that we can adapt, and look at for our market. I also really love what you talked about around the new thinking in relation to living brand ecosystem and the new model. I think this is a fantastic opportunity, and I think I like the simplicity and the clarity of the steps in the process. So thank you so much for that. There's a lot that you've said, but I think it's best at this point that I hand over to our moderator and obviously also the panelists who will be talking about these at a greater extent, and perhaps also looking at how we can begin to localize and relate this to the Nigerian marketing industry. And to do that, to moderate the next part of this session, I'll be handing over to a gentleman who has become an icon in the industry. He's the president of the, actually recently appointed the president of the IAA in Nigeria. That's the Advertising Association of Nigeria. He's also the chief executive officer and chief creative officer for Extreme Ideas, one of the leading independent creative agencies in Nigeria. But permit me also to say a little bit more about his professional pedigree. Steve has close to 3 decades experience in marketing communications. Is renowned, highly renowned, and a front player, a front runner in the marketing industry, like I said. Is at the forefront of charting new course for the progress of several platforms in Nigeria, from creative to advertising to music as well, and using the creative enterprise to drive the new agenda for the industry. He was recently appointed, I think just last month, the president of IAA Nigeria, and he also serves on the board of IAA Nigeria. Steve, welcome. Thanks for moderating this segment of the webinar. And I will also allow you to go ahead to take over from now and introduce the panelists. So thank you so much, Steve. Welcome.
Thank you, Femi, for that generous welcome. Thank you so much. I will jump straight into it by starting where Dagmara left off. And thank you so much, Dagmara, for that insightful presentation. Really, I mean, it was short, but very punchy. I remember the last time I saw you was at the last IAA World Congress in Kochi in India. That was before we knew anything about COVID-19 or whatever. So it's nice I could virtually see you again. I think one of the things that you spoke about last, which really caught my attention, is that it's a truism, isn't it? That creativity is the best natural resource we have as an industry. So I think the challenge we have is how do we employ this natural resource to sort of help channel our way out of the situation that the pandemic has put all of us into, including our clients and the brands that we have the privilege of working on. I really enjoyed all of the the punchlines you kept on dropping. Like rappers would say, I saw every time you dropped a punchline. When you talked about brands and purpose, creating brands being able to create North Star for themselves, and the brands that are successful are able to elevate themselves beyond the category by creating their own language, even almost to the point of religion. All of the examples you gave of Tesla, Amazon, Starbucks, and most importantly, how they've been able to put customers at the epicenter of everything they've done. I think these are really powerful nuggets that can help share. But I mean, it's not my job to discuss this topic. I have two very prominent people in the advertising industry in Nigeria with me. They said ladies first, so I have a very wonderful, brilliant strategist in our midst here. Let me just read through. I have Nena Onyewuchi, who is a co-founder and director of strategy of Yellow Brick Road, Lagos, Nigeria. Yellow Brick Road is an independent agency in Nigeria. Or are you? I think you're part of Omnicom now, right? Okay, so my bad. So Nena has been in the marketing communications industry for over 20 years. Her career started in the United States and subsequently hit the shores of Nigeria in 2004. She has, to her credit, remarkable works with great hands, great brands of international repute. You know, and so please, a virtual round of applause for Nena Uchi. So to be alongside Nena today, I have somebody who is my boss. I mean, those are the people who actually open the doors for some of us in this industry. Amazing gentleman, the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Creative Officer, Noah's Ark Communications, Lagos, Nigeria. Noah's Ark is part of they're part of the group, right? I think, he will fill me in. But Larry is the CEO and Chief Creative Officer, award-winning creative entrepreneur who has nearly 30 years of experience in the marketing communication industry. His works in creative advertising resonate across different brands, both locally and internationally. So this another virtual round of applause for Mr. Adisa, please. Just to jump into it again, let me just drag Nena into it to just talk about what the topic is. And I will say, just to go along with the topic, would you say creativity is really in crisis at this point in our history? What's your opinion about that?
Thank you, Steve. And Dagmar, thank you. That was a great presentation. I don't know if I would say that creativity is in crisis. I think possibly the creative industry might be in crisis because I think that consumers are showing us every day, right? Their own creativity in their own lives and answering problems. And we understand the tech brands are also doing amazing, innovative things. So I think, you know, in sort of a marketing communications context, I think that as an industry, we have possibly struggled a little bit to understand how to deal with what is an unprecedented crisis, right? There is no blueprint for this. Nobody saw that, as they say, you know, as Monty Python says, nobody expects the Inquisition. And I think it caught us all by surprise. Because the thing is, we are in the creative business, so we were all also running businesses. And so at the same time, we're trying to support clients, we're all also trying to figure out how to manage our own businesses and move them forward. And so I think that as creatives, we're still finding a way to respond to this crisis.
Thank you very much, Nena. Mr. Adisa, do you have anything to say to that, just as an opener?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Steve, and also thanks also Dagmara for a very insightful presentation. I mean, I align to a large degree with what Nena just said. The creative enterprise, as it were, has a challenge as we speak. But I think the onus is on everybody. Yes, I mean, not everybody saw this coming, you know, so to say. We've said that over and over. But the truth of the matter is that this is why we're also in business. This is what we do for a living. We live for challenges. We solve problems. So as much as, yes, it might be unexpected, it's also about thinking on our feet as a business and also as an enterprise. And she's right. Sometimes we feel like the crowd out there seems to have a better handle on what's going on than people here. But I think also it's not enough to just focus on the agencies or the people in the creative business. I think there's also the need to look at the other part of that partnership, which is the clients. Sometimes I get a feeling in this part of the world that the businesses here, the brands around here, don't seem to be responding or willing to respond as actively as we find in other places. It might probably have to do with the nature of the economy, so to say, because, you know, you are at the receiving end for the multinationals, as the case may be, but there are local brands as well. And the question is, I mean, how active, how agile have been the local brands in the scheme of things? So it's a partnership of sorts. I think we need the three ends of it. The consumer on one end, creating their own stuff, the agencies and the clients to make that happen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adisa. Very, very, you cut through it like a hot knife through, but I can totally see some of the points you marshaled out there. But I mean, I'm just saying, you think we should be doing more of? Lena, can you take a shot at that, please?
So I think it's interesting, just to pick up what Lamre was saying about clients not doing enough. And what I've seen is, I think in the beginning when it first happened, there was just panic, right? And because nobody knew what was going to happen. And I think the first instinct was just to stop, because nobody knew what was going to happen. And I think from a brand perspective, there was a sense of responsibility that they didn't want to be making commercial arguments when when people were dying, right? And that very quickly sort of transitioned into brands trying to be helpful. And the first place that everybody went, because I think in the first shock of it, right, what do we need to do to stay safe? And so you saw I don't think that there was a single brand that didn't turn over all of their commercial airtime to wash your hands, cough into your, just to say, these are the things that you must do to stay alive, which makes sense because in that first shock, what people really needed was, what is happening? What am I supposed to do? Yeah. What I've seen is, and different brands are doing this at different rates, but what I've seen is brands then sort of transition into brand action, right? So if I think about my clients, MTN zero-rated a bunch of sites so that people could get accurate information, right? MTN made free SMSs available. From a First Bank was sponsoring people to do this kind of thing, right? So they were sponsoring webinars. And you've seen sort of different brands step back and say, what can I do to help? And I saw a really interesting piece of research around what consumers actually wanted. And in the beginning of the crisis, consumers were like, you must tell me what to do because I don't know what's happening. And now what they say is that they want practical help. I think that what's going to be interesting is as we transition out of the first sort of shock into now having to have commercial conversations again. How are brands going to be able to have those commercial conversations with consumers and continue to connect and continue to sell without losing that sense of responsibility? And I think that it really is actually going to go back to something that Dagmara said about being relentlessly relevant. It's really going to come down to understanding where your customer is and what your customer's experience of this is. It's an interesting thing. When you're sitting in Lagos, it's very easy to imagine that all of Nigeria is having the same experience of the pandemic, right? But most of the country was not in any kind of lockdown for a very long time. And much of our market is at the mass market level. These are guys who are earning money and spending money every day. Their life hasn't changed materially. So I think that as we sort of are thinking about creativity and innovation, we must also be conscious of who we're innovating for. And I think the onus is on the brands, but also the agencies to get closer to the consumers, right? And to begin to not just listen, but engage and understand what do they actually need. And then understand what your brand does can fit that, because it doesn't make sense for you to be offering something that isn't at the core of what you do.
And I think to your point, this is such an important point. Brands have to, I think creativity is not in a crisis. Creativity definitely is in a shock. And the opportunity is to redeploy creativity from just creating communication to really creating business solutions. And yes, staying closer to the consumer and providing this constant inspiration, how the business model should be evolved and to meet those new consumer needs.
Thank you, Dagmar. Thank you, Nina. Actually, we have over 100 people tuned in right now watching us. So thank you for tuning in wherever you are. We appreciate you. Mr. Adisa, quickly, is there any example of maybe clients or agencies who you think have deployed creativity in a brilliant way, during this period, to your mind?
Okay. Thank you very much. Inena mentioned something about how do you engage beyond the initial shock, beyond being responsible about staying safe, because after a while, staying safe also becomes like wallpaper, as we can see in Nigeria. I mean, you go to certain places, and there's also a bigger problem for starters in a place like Nigeria. I don't know about other parts of Africa, where people are just being cynical about the entire thing, seeing it as a scam for starters. So if you keep running, wash your hands, stay safe and all that, and you're not thinking of going beyond that, it might just become a waste after a while, because again, some of those things have been imbibed. And now going back to what brands should do, I think for starters, what is expected of brands moving forward from where we are now is there must be a sense of empathy in terms of how you communicate and what you do as well as a brand. How do you customize your offering, so to say, in a way that will give that sense of empathy? I'll give an example. Willy-nilly, the banks had to, find a way of giving some loan holidays, so to say, for their customers, because things are very tight for starters. I saw an example of Hyundai in the US that was giving people 0%, what's it called, to buy their cars, giving them their Hyundai assurance. You can get insurance for 4 months if you don't have a job at the moment. So those are things that show empathy more than anything else. So brands need to do that. And when it comes to communication also, you must give us hope. Again, that is where the brands are powerful. Unfortunately, in some countries like ours and other places, governments are not rising up to the occasion. So this is where you see the power of brands. Brands are the ones that engage us on a day-to-day basis. So what message are we taking out there right now for people? So there must be that positivity because there's a big fear around the place. There's a sense of uncertainty. We don't know when this is going to end. We don't know when we're going to stop working from home, if we're going to stop at all. So how do you give me a sense of what's going on? So in an Apple, for instance, came up with some 6-7 minute content, which is just focusing on working from home and a couple of things, a little funny. I mean, because again, we can't all keep on a very low level of depression or what have you. Now we need to bring some optimism. We need to bring some sunlight into the room. Can it be a little bit more lighthearted or not? Maybe. There's a particular commercial from Durex, which I love, and I can play that, as we go along, which also tries to speak to some of the things that need to change going forward. And it's about talking about the fact that we can't go back to normal. Why can't we go back to normal? Because certain things, we have to dump them in the past. So what it also means is that when brands are talking today, brands must also see that they are keeping to their essence. You don't just change your conversation today because there's COVID-19. What have you always stood for? How do you nuance that for where we are today? And how can that help me believe more in humanity? And that's the power we have as people in the brand building world. How do we ensure that people can, lace up their shoes again, and get back to seeing life the way it should be? That's what brands should be doing. Unfortunately, I don't think we're doing enough of that in this part of the world, but there's still room to do that. I mean, I've seen stuff being done, but mostly tactical to a very large degree. But now we need to engage people. We need to make them believe that, hey, you know what? This is just one of those things again. When life throws you lemon, you don't just make lemonade. You go make, you go start a lemonade franchise. I mean, that's the way I see it going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. I think we have about 10 minutes to just take more questions. We'll take questions from some of the participants now. This question is directed at Dagbara specifically. And the question says, now that notable brands are more human-facing, how can new brands or younger brands stand out from the crowd beyond the regular on-time service excellence I don't know if you understand that question.
So is the question, how can a new brand stand out so I think it all starts with a bold mission, with a bold purpose. And the old brand rules are understand the consumer landscape and understand the kind of the basic consumer needs and tap into these needs in an unexpected way. Most of the breakthrough brands started small with a bold vision, and create a world and vocabulary and products and services, create an experience that really elevates you beyond the category. Invent your own, so start with a mission, invent your own vocabulary, invent your own products and services, and really an authentic communication approach to make you stand out, to really and obviously always get consumer feedback to make sure that you have products that over deliver. You have to tap into what's happening in the culture and take advantage of the current desires, and live with an emotion, lead with the heart. So it's brands, the best brands don't sell products, they sell emotions. So really finding, is it about, yes, creativity, is about desire, seduction, whatever it is, tap into the consumer needs and create a brand around it. But it is an art, it takes time, but it's worth it, because once you have it, you can have a huge satisfaction of adding values and changing consumers' lives. And I think in this pandemic, now being more serious, yes, banks and every category can really help actually to tackle this pandemic and tackle the economic crisis and help consumers reemerge. And a lot of, my son is 16-year-old, actually playing games has been very good for him because he's engaged, he's staying engaged with his friends, he's learning different strategic skills, he feels like a team player. That different brands can provide value in a very different way. TikTok has been growing like crazy in America because they provide also a social outlet for Generation Z, where basically those young people kind of connect over their passions. So every category has different rules, obviously, but really focus on the first thing is what is the purpose I want to serve in people's life. Crystallizing this in an emotional way is the starting point.
Thank you very much, Dagmar. Another question from Boyega Olorunfemi. Said, haven't seen the top 10 most valuable brands. What do you think their African market share looks like? Is there a competitive edge for African brands considering the strain of COVID-19 on their resources? Lena, you want to take a shot at that?
So what is the share in Africa of these global brands? I wish I should know this, but I don't. I think that from an African brand context, I think that what African brands will have, or specifically what Nigerian brands will have that maybe international brands won't have, is an understanding of what makes the Nigerian consumer tick, right? Now, brands that are born here, were built by people here, we understand this market. And even though there are many, many, many constraints in this market, but I think a lot of those constraints are opportunities for innovation. In experiential, there's a thing that I call dancing girl on truck, right? The market storm. The thing about the market storm is like, we see it all the time, and I know that I'm just like, oh, God, if I see another dancing girl on a truck. But when I talk to my friends in America about it, it's like, oh my God, what do you mean you put a girl in a truck and take her dancing through the streets, right? So I think we don't often give ourselves credit for our own innovation. And so I think that the edge that Nigerian brands will have is that they're here and that they're living here every day. So they know that their customer doesn't have light and they know that their customer is dealing with a shaky connection. So they can think about, how do I solve for the problems that we have here, right? And you see it, and you see all these small startups that are looking at understanding, if power is a problem, if connectivity is a problem, if logistics are a problem, how can we then solve for here? Understanding that we, from the beginning, factor in that you're your own power generator, water provider, road builder, right? Whereas international brands who are living and were born in more established, I guess, markets that have more infrastructure are going to come here and spend a long time trying to set up, right? So that speed and a familiarity with the constraints, I think, is actually our competitive edge.
Thank you very much. I think as we're speaking, I just noticed that the president of IAA Nigeria, Dr. Tunji Olubode, has joined us. Thank you for your leadership and all of the work behind the scene to make this happen. As we begin to round off this discussion, Mr. Adisa, what, in your opinion, is the future of the advertising stroke creativity sector post-COVID-19? What do you think?
For me, I am very optimistic about the future, even though we do have current challenges like any other business. I think one of the beauties of this for me is also what has happened with people, as we can see. What COVID-19 did for us was force on us some revolution that would have taken 5 years as regards managing our human resources, flexibility and things the like of that. Now we are working from home. We've done that for like 4 months. Whatever fears we had about that, I think it has been diminished to a very large degree. Now, what would this do for us? I think it will help us to bring in new talent into our industry. There are people who don't want to keep a 9-to-5 job. And even among your team that you have now, it's going to be something that will help you inspire them better. I can keep a team in Kaduna or Kano or wherever today, as the case may be, and operate out of Lagos and still make things happen. So for me, I think it is positive. Once we can rise above where we are now, which all of us are trying the best we can to do that. The other thing for me also is the fact that I think, people and brands and everyone else, we're also having a chance to reassess our values more than anything else. And I think in the process of that, it's almost like the world going into a reset. We'll be better for it, depending on where you see things. Like I said at the beginning, positivity is very important. It's important for you, starting from you as a business, as an agency, and how you are able to transfer that to your team and the brands that you work on, because that is where the world is going. A lot of things, there was a McKinsey report that says that 40% of the things that we have imbibed in this period will stay with us. So it's going to be a world that will be a little different from where we are, but at least 60% of what we had before we'll keep, no doubt about it. But those 40% will change a lot of things around us. And I think in doing that also, we as an industry, it means that we need to also quicken the pace of change in our ecosystem. And it's a very good thing. I'm listening to Dagmara about where the evolution of communication from the prescribed to the responsive to the living brand. So I think for me, that is where we need to be. There's a whole lot of stuff that needs to happen internally for us to be able to take advantage of what is coming. But I think where we're headed is going to be more exciting than where we are today. If anything, COVID-19 has proven that the world is a smaller place than ever. Otherwise, this could have happened 20, 30 years ago. And, perhaps we wouldn't have felt the impact as much as we are doing that today. So it happened in China, but the entire world was on lockdown eventually. And it's also telling us that technology will rule our world more than ever before. The reason we are not feeling so much of the pain is because we are all connected one way or the other. So I look at the positives of where we are. And looking at the positives, I think the future looks really bright for us if we look at it from that point of view.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adisa. Maybe just for 60 seconds, any final thoughts, Nena, and then we'll take a 60 seconds wrap up from Dagmara as well before we call it today.
I think what I want to do is, I guess, echo what Lanre said. There's a truism, in business, never waste a good crisis. Yep. I think that what this has forced us to do is to look at the parts of our business, our ecosystem, our approaches that aren't working and that aren't fit for purpose. So I guess what I would say to the creatives out there is to be brave. It is difficult to innovate in the face of uncertainty. It is difficult to try something new when you have no idea what's happening in the world. But to Lanre's point, the only way we win is if we have hope. And in that hope, we must be brave, right? You must believe that we will not only survive and thrive, and we have to begin to build for the world that we want, right? So the shock is, when people say post-COVID, I'm like, there is no post-COVID, this is it. This is the world now. It's not new anymore. So I would encourage us all to be brave and to face this future with hope.
Thank you, Linda. Dagmara, over to you.
Yes, and I would just say, and I obviously agree with everything that's being said here. I think this is honestly the most exciting time to be in our industry. I think we not only have an opportunity to bring new type of creatives into the industry and create new brands, more authentic brands coming from all parts of the world, but we also have an opportunity to really contribute to improving the planet. I think in addition to being brave, I would say be also compassionate. I think the world will be a better place if more creative people could envision how the planet could be improved. And I think this is the time we have this opportunity to create more purpose-driven brands and really show governments how our industry can contribute to building a better world. This is for me the most exciting part of being creative today. You know, not only being creative, but also helping to improve the planet for generations to come. And there is nothing more exciting, you know, leaving a legacy for our children. Is really what keeps me going every single day.
Thank you so much, Dagmar. Thank you to our brilliant, wonderful panelists. It's been a decisive conversation, really inspiring. And apologies to some of our participants. We couldn't take all your questions. We'll find a way behind the scenes to like collate them and see if we can still get more answers from our brilliant panel. Thank you so much. I would like to call on the Vice President of IAA Nigeria, Femi, to just say a final word and a vote of thanks, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. Thanks for moderating. That very exciting. I mean, I think that's been the most interesting one I've spent in a long, long time. Just to respond to a few questions quickly, because a few people dropped the questions in the comments and chat segment rather than in the Q&A. But these questions are around membership and how to join the IAA. At the very end of this webinar, there are two questions which we'd like you to just, answer quickly. It will allow us to be able to reach you and share with you information on how to join. But it's very simple. You could also go through any of our social media handles at IAA Nigeria, okay? And then it's very easy to follow through in terms of just drop your details and we'll follow up with you. A few people also requested for the presentation. We'll make this available to all the participants that joined this call and obviously to all members of IAA Nigeria. So it's a good time to join as well. So it's really been exciting. I would like to thank once again Dagmara for telling us and reminding us that the biggest resource that we need as a nation is actually not crude oil. I think we all thought it was crude oil. So thank you for telling us that the biggest resource that we need is actually creativity. And with that, we can solve almost all of our problems, if not all. Please permit me to request the president in case if he would like to say a word or anything just before we close. Dr. Tunji Olugbodi, in case you want to say a word, otherwise I'll just move ahead. While I wait his response, I would like to also thank the panelists. Thank you so much, Nena Oyewuchi, for your wonderful contributions and perspectives. And also Mr. Larry Adisa, thank you also. It's really been great listening to both of you in and your various views in terms of how we can move the industry and our businesses forward, and of course our nation as well. We look forward to calling on you because again, this webinar series is first of many, and we're looking forward to doing this because I is at the forefront of thought leadership, and we hope to do this every month going forward from now. So we'll be looking forward to reaching out to you and speaking with you at another time and another date, but certainly at the same place because this is the way the world works now. So thank you for your time. I also want to extend a big appreciation to all the 100 plus, almost 110 various participants from around the world who joined us and shared comments on this. Thank you so much. And obviously, there are a lot of people who work behind the scene in bringing this to life. The technical team led by Dipo and the GM for IAA Nigeria, Robert. Thank you for all the input that you guys made into this. To my president, Dr. Tunji Olugbodi, if you're still on the call, would you like to say a word?
Mr. Vice President.
Well,
Okay.
All right, just to thank everybody for making this happen. I apologize that I'm not able to join in physically because I've been in transit. Thank you, Dagmara. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, the moderator, and the host too. And above all, also thank you to Noko for all the support from Ghana for the Africa region. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Tunji.
Thank you. I think
Thank you,
on that note.
Thank you, Femi. Well done. Vice President, well done.
Oh, yeah. Let me just also, the voice that you're listening to is that of our colleague from the IAA Ghana office. You're welcome. Thanks for joining us.
If you allow me to jump in, please. That's actually Mrs. Noko Dua. Noko is the Vice President for Membership Development for the Africa region. And she's been a pillar of support for growing the association across Africa. So if you see an increase in the number of countries joining IAA in the next couple of months, that's our work. Thank you very much, Noko.
I'd like to thank Oga as well. Yeah. Well done. I'm very, very impressed. This is the beginning of many things to happen. And I know that it's going to only get better in spite of all that we're going through. Hope is a thing, and we all have hope. So we will turn things around and in a big way. Thank you very much. Leadership of IAA Nigeria is just impressive. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Dagmara, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, then.
So on the final note, I thank you once again, Dagmara, for the wonderful presentation. I wish you all the best in New York, and I wish the whole of the United States all the best in this tough time, and of course, all the nations of the world. And on that final note, I thank everyone again, our panelists, our moderators, and all our participants from around the world. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.
All right. Take care. Speak to you soon. Bye.